Support for the Words from the River podcast is provided by WordTender. WordTender will cultivate creative content for your online course, website, or social media. Visit at www.wordtenderinfo.wixsite.com/wordtender. Happy Friday and welcome back to Words from the River, the podcast about writers and writing. I'm very excited today to have Toni Crow with us. Toni is a 30-year award-winning corporate vice president. She's worked for a variety of companies such as United Technologies, Rockwell, and Honeywell. She retired early to pursue her writing career and has had a very successful writing career as well. She wrote her 6-book memoir series in 6 months, and the basis of her books is that working hard and being smart is not always enough to be successful. Everyone can use a helping hand, and her books are written to offer that helping hand. She's won a variety of awards. In 2019, she won the Gold Medal Award as a reader's favorite in the nonfiction drama genre, and she also won a gold medal in the nonfiction occupational genre. We are very excited to have her, and I want to say welcome to you, Toni.
Thank you so much for being with me today. I have been very excited about this.
Sure.
Tell me a little bit more about your pre-writing business life.
Well, I'm an electrical engineer. I graduated from the University of Illinois at Chicago. I then went to Maryville University and got a master's in organizational management. I studied in Japan for a while to be a Six Sigma black belt.
Wow.
I was technically excellent. I was a really good design engineer. So of course what they decided was that if you're good at doing something, they promoted me to be a supervisor. Of which I knew nothing. So all that schooling and all that learning did not help me. The thing that I made a reputation for was that I would hire people that were smarter than me. If I could find somebody smarter than me, I was trying to get them on my team. Because if you hire the very best people that you can find, you end up with a really good team. And they're not worried that you're trying to sandbag them. You actually have to listen to them because they're the technical expert.
Right.
Now, you're no longer the expert. Your job is to give the team timelines, goals, and metrics.
Right.
So my pre-writing life was basically, got promoted into leadership, ended up doing really well. I retired as a vice president of a $640 million business.
Wow.
So that was cool. But it was time. It was time to go.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, you seem to have applied what I read in an article the other day that the really successful people don't ask how, they ask who.
Yes.
Who can I get who can do this well? And it sounds like you've applied that same philosophy. What was the transition from business success to full-time writer like for you?
I think the thing that made it not difficult, I'm not going to say it was easy, because when you've gotten up, I was a manufacturing person, and manufacturing people are normally in the plant by 7, 8 a.m. in the morning all the time.
Right.
A little bit difficult not having to get up every day and get dressed because I kept waking up at the same time.
Right.
But I'm sort of a self-starter. So once I caught on to with writing, you have to have a different set of metrics, a different set of goals. So I signed up for something called self-publishing school. It's by Stan LeBeau. You supposedly produce a book in 90 days. And one of the foundations of that course is set a daily writing goal for yourself. And figure out how fast you are by using what they call sprints.
Oh.
And sprints are, you decide what you're going to write about. And for 5 minutes, You just write as fast as you can. I literally mean you just let it just pour out your mind as fast as you can. Then you stop and you don't edit it. You move on to the next thing and you do that. When I first started out, my speed was about 500 words in about that time. And I got up to the point where I can now do in an hour about 3,000 words.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
You must be.
What it does is it's like exercising a muscle. You're exercising your writing muscle. So I am considered to be a somewhat fast writer. So my goal each day is only 1,500, but that's 1,500 edited words. So
Wow.
I'll sit down, and when I get to 1,500, I'll stop. I'll go back and I'll take a look at them and see if I can edit them and make them at least ready for a first draft format. My first set of words, sometimes I don't even know what they say. Sometimes I don't know what they say. And that's why it's important that I go back immediately. So the transition, once I learned to set a metric, once I learned to pay attention to that metric, because 1,500 words may take me half an hour, and 1,500 words may take me 4 hours.
Right.
But the goal is it's 1,500 words, and that goal keeps you going.
That is an excellent idea. I may have to try the sprint idea. I like that.
Oh, once you do it a couple times, you actually get a really good sense of how your brain is working, because you take the brakes off of it. We keep the brakes on our intelligence all the time. We do that when we're in a room with people that we agree or disagree with.
Right.
We censor ourselves. We check our words. So what happens if you take your skill, your talent, because you're a writer, you take your talent and you just let it run. Just go wild horses and see what happens.
Wow. It makes me think of a word we use in learning a lot called metacognition. Learning more about the way you think.
Yes.
Really, really good idea.
Yes.
Speaking of fast writing, you wrote your 6-book series in only 6 months, which just blows my mind. What was that process like? You shared a little bit about your metric, but did it just pour out of you, or did you use this structure you're talking about to keep that productivity going?
I actually started with the pour out and had to put structure in place. Because since I had all these books, I'd work on one, then another, and then one. The reason I actually ended up taking the course on self-publishing is that I had to make a decision whether I was going to try to go down a traditional publishing route, if I was going to go down a self-publishing route, because you actually take a different set of actions as you're writing your book, depending on whether you're trying to get an agent or not.
Right.
And I decided that, no, I'm going to self-publish. I'm going to publish the books myself. And what ended up happening is I had so many years of writing memos, financial reports, 5-year plans, performance reviews, all the business stuff and memos, that what I decided was that I would stop doing any of that type of writing. Okay, so I stopped doing that. I didn't do any consulting until after the books were done. And what that ended up doing for me was allowing me to just focus on the books, and once I had the structure in place, actually make progress. Because it's really easy to write on book number 1, and then write on book number 6, and then work some on book number 3, but that way nothing ever gets finished.
Exactly.
So I had to impose some structure. I had to impose some structure. So it poured out of me at first, but then it was obvious I needed structure, and I put structure in place.
That makes sense. I've had to do that in my work life as well, being an instructional designer, projects after project, and you want to get one done.
Yeah, if you don't, you can run a certain number, and everybody has a different number. Some is 1, is 2, some is 50. But once you know what your project number is, you need to work on those at the same time.
Right.
The way I write now is I always have a book that I'm working on that's my main focus, and then I have in my mind the book that follows that one. But I don't actually write that book. I may put some ideas down about it, I may think about it, but I don't work on it. I work on one book at a time and get that book finished and done.
That's very interesting. I think writers will be interested to hear that, because that's always the big question. Do I bounce around or do I focus? And I think it depends on the writer, but I think for a lot of us, focus is very important.
I agree with you. It depends on the writer. The key for a lot of writing is to figure yourself out.
Right.
Figure yourself out. I attended a seminar with William Morrison when he was the screenwriter. He did The Princess Bride.
Oh, yes.
And he did The Princess Bride, one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite books and one of my favorite movies.
Inconceivable. Sorry.
Yes, and the way I like that, and the way that he writes, he's a much more relaxed writer because he was very successful. So he would say he'd get up in the morning, get his coffee, he'd go get a newspaper, he reads some, he writes some, but then he would sit down, and his metric was pages. He wanted to write 3 good pages a day, and however long it took him, that was fine for him. Yeah. For me, it's 3 good. It's 1,500 words. Right. I don't even know if I could do 3 good pages a day, but I can do good words. Yeah. And it's William Goldman.
William Goldman.
Yes.
William Morris. That's a talent agency?
That's the talent agent.
I knew I'd heard it.
Right. Yes. William Goldman. Because see, and that's how my brain just did that to me.
But it's William.
William Morris, and the back of my brain said, "That's wrong. Get her the right answer." And then it sent the right answer and said, "Okay, it's Goldman."
Yep. Yeah. One of the things that, and this was actually in your bio, but it really stuck out to me. It's you say that working hard and being smart is always enough, and I definitely tend to agree with that. Would you expand on that just a little bit for our listeners?
Yes. There are so many people in this world that are so talented, and they work really, really hard, and they are dependable, and they do all the things that should make them successful, but they're not successful.
Right.
Okay. And they're doing everything as right as they know how to do it. Most of the time, when I take a look at that, or I'm trying to mentor someone, the environment is the thing that they haven't paid that much attention to.
Right.
And the greatest, and here's a great example. You can be the hardest worker in the world, but if you're in a toxic environment, that hard work won't help you. Mm-hmm. You can be the smartest worker in the world, but if you're in a place where the old boy system is how people are actually picked, all that intelligence and all that smartness will not help you. Yep. Both of those issues can be addressed if you recognize them, if you understand them, and then you see, what can I do? Because your choices are always simple. I can either stay in this environment and try and work with it, or I can get out of this environment and do something else.
Right.
But you have to recognize that that environment has put you in this bubble that you're now in, that you have to deal with, and that you don't control that environment. That's one of those things that's out of your control. When you go into work each day, or even if you're a stay-at-home writer, when you sit down to write each day, the environment around you affects exactly what you're going to do and whether you're going to get what you consider success. So that's one of the things I want to say. Pay attention to what's going on around you. Pay attention to the things you can't control. Even if you can't control them, know what they are.
Exactly. Very, very good advice. Very good advice. Focusing on your own writing process a little bit, and you've already talked about this, but as far as just the day itself, I know you said you try to do 1,500 words a day. Is there a set structure to the functions of your day and the schedule and where things fall?
Yes. For me, I must complete my writing in the morning because I'm a mother, a grandmother, a wife, a sister, an aunt. I'm all these other things too. And once everyone else is up and about, they are interrupting your day, even if you tell them not to. Yep. Even if you say from 10 o'clock to noon, I'm busy and I'm working, your nephew in college is going to break his ankle and call you. And what you cannot say is, oh, your ankle is broken? I'm writing. I can't help you. I can't help you. So what I do instead is I try and do all my writing ahead of time, so that I'm done by 9 o'clock. I'm normally done by 8 o'clock. Wow. There are bad days when I'm not done till 2 p.m. because I just can't get those words out. But most of the time, before 8:39, I'm available now to do the rest of the things people want me to do. So what I'll do for the rest of the day is I may do some outlining, or just by thinking about other ideas. I might write some articles. I may do some marketing, but I'm no longer actually writing words. I write the words in the morning. If I'm getting ready to do a book launch, my whole day changes. During a launch, I actually structure my day so that there is no writing in the morning. It's basically marketing, calling, podcasting, interviewing, and doing all the other things that you need to do to try and have a successful book. And that changes, but that's the only time my day changes. I must get those words out in the morning. Once it gets to be the afternoon, there's not going to be much.
Too many competing distractions. Yes.
And not just competing distractions, important.
Exactly. True.
They may not be urgent. They're urgent to the people that are trying to get you, but they are important. And you have to make sure people will know that you believe that they are important.
That's true. That really goes to work-life balance, which I think sometimes once we start with the creative endeavors like writing and such, we don't think as much about it, but you really still need work-life balance.
You must have work-life balance. You still have other obligations and responsibilities other than the creative process that you want to engage in yourself. You still have to make sure dinner's going to be right when it's your turn. In my house, we take turns doing dinner.
Ooh,
so
nice.
my turn, either I have to buy some food and have it here, or I have to cook some food. But somehow at 6 o'clock, there should be some food for somebody to eat. Yes.
Right. Yeah. Now, I know you retired early to pursue writing full time, but obviously you must have loved writing before that. It didn't just suddenly appear. What was it about your life, or when did you start noticing that you had that love of writing?
I think that we can trace this all the way back to my grandmother. My grandmother was a writer, but she was not a published writer. She wrote, and you have to think about the way things used to be. She wrote plays for her church and for her local theater group.
Oh,
and they didn't publish the plays. They did them at the church, and they did them at the theater group, and then they would split the money among themselves, and away she went. So she was the writer for that group. And I think her love of writing came to me. My mother is not a writer at all. If you talk to her about writing, she would not want to write. But I am a storyteller, as my grandmother was before me. And one of my mother's favorite stories about me is that when I was really young, her and my dad were kind of having a party. And I was upstairs, being my little 2-year-old self. She says that I somehow figured out how to come all the way down the stairs with my potty, which had poo in it. And I then commanded that everybody, all the adults, look in the potty while I told them the story of how I had to get up out of bed. I had to pull down my own pants. I had to open the pot myself. I had to sit down on the potty myself and then do my business without anybody's help. And I had to tell the story to that group of people down. She says, and after I told the story, I was quite satisfied. I closed my potty, and I went back upstairs and went back to bed. And all the adults down there said, we don't know what's going on with her, but she what kind of kid do you have? What kind of kid is that? But as soon as I could get my fingers around a pencil, I used to pretend scribble stories that I would tell her about things I had made up. And all through high school and middle school, I just loved, you remember those little books we used to make when we were kids?
Oh, yes.
Those little books out of paper.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I could make those books. And then I'd write my own little stories on those books. And
yeah. I remember having my own magazine that I published.
Oh, you made a magazine.
With comics.
That's even better. I didn't even think of that. That would have been fantastic to make my own magazine.
But I can't even remember what it was called, but I had my own version of Peanuts. But
yes.
I violated copyright because I did get paid, at least in this.
That's all right. That's all right. See, that's how you know that that's just who you are. You know, you're sitting around thinking, what should I do? You know what I should do? I should make my own magazine. That is.
Well, I couldn't play kickball or baseball or any other kind of ball because I was so uncoordinated. So, I had to do something. let's see, there are so many great tools in your books. In fact, I would think if I were a teacher of business or marketing or any of those types of topics, I probably would recommend your books to my students.
Mm-hmm.
I love that you have exercises for the reader to do at the end of chapters, and as an educator, the whole apply it right now is just fantastic to me. But when it really comes to success and the playing field out there right now, what is one thing based on your writing experiences you would really like to see changed as far as people having the opportunities they need to succeed?
The thing that I would like to see change is I think there needs to be help for writers at all levels. People have a really great book inside. They have something they want to say and something they want to do. But no one tells them that writing the book is actually the easy part.
Mm-hmm.
That's the easy part. The writers have to be, they're the idea generator, the writer, they're the first editor, the first proofreader, they're the banker, they're the marketer, they're the agent, they're the IT person, and they're the overall leader of all these people that they are.
Right.
Okay? So if you haven't ever managed a project before, once the book is written, you're just in trouble. You're in trouble because you have to coordinate. Even if you're giving the book away for free, you have to coordinate the free book sites that don't even cost you any money. You just have to go out and know how you want to have your book cascading through. Do you want to just release everything all at one time? Do you want to do a timed release where every week another group pops in and it builds up like a pyramid? Do you want to market to colleges? Do you want to market to the airport? Do you want a website? If you want a website, who's going to learn how to put that website together?
Right.
Do you want to have an email group? Do you want to have an email list? All these decisions are things writers don't even know they don't know.
Exactly.
Okay? So before they start down that task, they get done with their book and bump into this daunting wall of knowledge that they need. And then the book never gets published or gets picked up by anybody because they don't even know the order in which they need to learn these things.
Exactly.
So they can be successful.
Yeah.
I would like to see more help for the new writer, for the experienced writer, for the writer who has a few books published, for the writer who has 50 books published. Because there's all these people that know how to do these things and they're willing to share it. And this isn't a course that you take. It's knowledge that is available. Yeah. It should be available for free. Yeah. Maybe you have to buy a $5.99 book or something. I don't know. Maybe they just write some articles about it and away you go. I write for Medium.com. And one of the things when I write about writing, I try and make sure it's something practical, something people can pick up, something they know. So one of the articles I wrote was about these are all the things you're going to have to be if you are an author, so that you know that you can't just write your book and stop. Yeah. You know, it won't go anywhere.
Yeah, and that's so important because I know I had that experience with the first novel I wrote.
Oh, goodness, yes.
You know, I had this novel that I thought was really good, but it needed lots of editing. It needed, you know, and all I knew was you write it and then you send out a bunch of query letters and manuscripts to anybody who will take them and wait for the notes to come in. Well, there's a whole lot more to it than that, but I didn't know. Yes. You know, so it took a really badly edited self-publishing experience for me to back up and go, okay, let's learn how to do it right. And now I don't even tell people the name of that book because I don't want them to see it. But, you know,
you can re-edit it and reformat it if you want it self-published.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I may have to do that at some point.
Yes.
Let's see. Your two books, Never a $7 Whore and What Happened to Baby, tell the story of a pretty incredible journey. Mm-hmm. Of course, 99% of the listeners here will never have to overcome that harrowing of a journey, I hope. Yeah. But I just saw so many nuggets of strength that anyone could apply, even if they've never been in that experience. If you had to think about some of those nuggets of learning and principles that you learned going through that journey that you think would be good for anybody to apply, what would a few of those be?
A few of them would be, first of all, be kind, even if people aren't kind to you. Okay? Literally that simple, because you're going to run into people that are not going to be kind to you. Hold on to your own integrity. That was one of the things that you have to do. You have to know that how you would behave, keep behaving that way. Mm-hmm. Don't let others' bad behavior pull you in the mud and make that your bad behavior. Mm-hmm. So I think that's part of what made a difference for me. Never give up. There is always hope. That's such a cliche, but it's such a true cliche. Oh, yeah. Because if you get depressed, you really, the studies say you can't think. Mm-hmm. You get into this place where you don't have the strength to resist things that you need to resist, and you can't think and you can't do what you want to do. Treat everybody with respect. That's literally that simple. Even if they are the lowest of the lowest low, that's not your business. Mm. They're a human. You don't know their circumstances. Treat them with respect. And think. Yeah. Think about what you want to be and the fact that this is just a snapshot of your life. Where you are now is simply one snapshot of what's going to be, a gazillion snapshots in your life. And some snapshots are going to be of you at your highest points, and some snapshots are going to be of you at your lowest points. And just think of it that way, and that lets you say, okay, I'm going to deal with this day, and tomorrow I'll deal with that day and the next day. When you hold on to your integrity, your hope, and treat people appropriately, I think you can just about get out of anything that's not good for you. You know, you can just about get out of it. But just it comes down to be a good person, I think, is almost kind of the mantra I say to people. Just be a good person. Don't be a jerk. Don't be a jerk. Don't do that. It's not to your advantage, and it affects your inner soul if you don't treat people appropriately, and if you don't treat yourself nicely. That's one of the other things. Treat yourself nicely too. Yeah,
those were two things I kept feeling as I was putting myself in those shoes, which I can't ever actually do. The theme seemed to be know that other people have value no matter what, and know that I have value no matter what. And just go back and forth. And I think that's a lesson I think every single person needs to learn and cling to. So yeah, very inspirational. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the process. We've talked about all those hats that you have to wear, but for you, what was the process from I have a manuscript to I have a published work?
Okay. When you think about the timeline and the process, one of the things that I think helped me tremendously was that I like to both mind map and outline. Some people mind map, some people outline. I actually do both. And what mind mapping is, for those who are not writers, is you actually take the nugget of an idea and think about drawing a circle. And then you draw a line from that circle and you put another circle with something important to it. So let's say if we were going to make coffee, we'd say coffee. We draw a circle, and then that circle would say coffee maker. And the other circle would say hot water. And then another circle would say, okay, tea. Another circle would say, okay, sugar. And then the coffee maker circle will get another circle on it with 3 or 4 lines on it. And those lines would say type of coffee maker, electric or not, and all the different things that would go to that coffee maker. I take those mind maps and I lay them out for every chapter. Every chapter that I am working on, there's a mind map for the big book that's chapters. And then I take every chapter and there's a mind map for each of the chapters.
Oh, wow.
I put those in a 3-ring binder, and then I outline what I think that's going to be. The mind map takes me 2 to 3 business days. An outline takes me 2 to 3 business days. Then I sit down and sprint with my mind map. I'll read my mind map, I'll set my timer, and then I'll start typing as fast as I can. I don't look back at the mind map. I'm not allowed to cheat. Okay, I have to my brain has to go. What I want to type, what I want to write, I write the whole thing. For me to complete probably a 30,000 word first draft takes me about 3 to 4 weeks.
Wow.
Okay. Second, third draft, probably with only my edits, probably another week or two. And then it goes to my editor, they edit, and we go back and forth probably for a week or two, because they send me edits, I accept or reject them, send it back, they accept or reject it, and we do that. I normally contract for 2 times.
Okay.
I normally contract for 2 times, because when you ask the editors to edit for you, they bid you 1 time. They bid you, I'll edit your book 1 time, and I always say, no, that my books are bad. You get my book, it's going to be a hot mess. It's going to be a hot mess. So what that means is, I need you to take a look at what it would take for you to do this twice. And I say, what I'd like to do is have you send me the edits as if we were going to be done. I take and accept them and send it back to you. And now I want you to edit it again. I want you to act as if it's brand spanking new. I want you to edit it again, even though we just edited it, and send it back to me. And then that gives me what I call a double edit. And that makes it so the book is structured. It seems to be structured better. I do the exact same thing with proofreaders. When I hire a proofreader, I ask for a double proof. That means that you proofread it, you send it to me, I accept it, but then I want to send it back to you, and I want to have you proofread it again just as if you had never seen it. And we always find something. I don't even know what to say.
Oh, yeah.
And even after that, I always find something in my books.
I know.
Even after double proofreading, I always find something. The proofreading is another week. I then send it out to the formatter, and sometimes I'll format it myself first and then send it to the formatter so they'll know what I want, and then I publish. Whole thing in about the first time with the Chandler Bolt system, you're supposed to do 1 book in 90 days. I did 2 books in 120 days.
Wow.
And that's what we just kept going like that. But it's because I believe I spent all that time up front. Mind mapping the book and then mind mapping each chapter. It lets me see where I'm going. It also makes it so that you know if you're repeating, because if it's the same exact mind map that you had, then you got a problem.
Exactly. Yeah, well, that's very interesting. I do storyboarding, which I guess is sort of a combination of mind map and that's because
it's all put together.
Yeah, I'm an instructional designer, so I thought, hey, I do this for my training. I wonder if it would work for a book, and it does seem
Of course it does. Storyboarding is actually really cool. I would storyboard if I had any creative drawing talent at all. But my people are literally stick people. They're just poor little stick people with little legs and
Well, I confess my storyboard is a giant, funky-looking table in Word. And I fill it in with bullet points and ideas and phrases, but it works for me. So,
yes.
But yeah,
I like what you said right up front. Every writer develops what they need to be able to write their books.
Yeah.
Yes. Cool.
All right. It says you've won 2 readers' favorite gold medal awards, both in nonfiction, one for drama and one for occupational. How did that come about, and what was it like seeing your work and life experience being celebrated like that?
I actually owe this to another writer, Wendy Vanderpool. She's a pet death writer. She writes about how to recover from your pets dying.
Oh, wow.
She told me there was a website called Reader's Favorite that for free, you could submit your book and they'd send you back a free review. And I thought, whoa, I love that idea of a free review. So I wrote my books, I submitted them to Reader's Favorite for a free review. And they sent it back, and I got a 5-star review.
Wow.
Then got an email from them that says, hey, we have a contest. Of course, that costs money. We have a contest. Why don't you submit your book to the contest? And I talked to my husband a little bit, and says, I got what I wanted, which was the free review.
Right.
Should I really submit it? And he said, well, the review was pretty good. Why don't you give it a try? Why don't you go ahead? You're doing all right. Turn the book in, and let's see what happens. So I submitted the 2 books to their contest, and amazingly actually won something, won the gold medal. It's the highest medal they have. So that was cool.
Great.
But it started out with me trying to get a free review from that website. That's the whole thing.
Well, that is awesome. And I definitely think that they made a very good decision by awarding you that, because they are very, very good books. You mentioned your husband just now saying, go for it. How important is the support system that you have around you to your writing?
It is incredibly important. My husband says he's my staff. He says he's my husband and he's my staff. And he'll actually look at me and say, am I being the husband now or am I being the staff? I'm like, oh, stop. You're always my husband, but right now you're the IT staff. So okay, you heard me when we were doing this. I said, you heard me say, call honey. I can't hear her. Can you come in and give me a hand? He was on the other side of the house. I had to attract him my way. I've gotten decent on Zoom, so I don't normally need him. But he was a project manager. He's also retired now.
Okay,
he's a project manager, but he remained in the technical path. So he's much more technical than I am. So when I get stuck on something technical, he helps me. He's the one who encouraged me. He's the one who found Self-Publishing School by Chandler Bolt. He was the one that found that.
Oh, wow.
When I was looking at what I could do to structure myself better, he found and recommended that for me. He's the one who said, if you write fast, write. I said, well, I only wanted to write one book. He said, just keep writing.
Yeah.
My family is very supportive. I sometimes have to call them, and they keep me honest. That's the best way to think about it. I call my sister, and my sister will say to me, you're remembering that wrong. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm remembering that wrong? She says, you're remembering that wrong. Let me remind you what really happened.
Yeah.
And that helps a lot. Yeah. So having my family support me is fantastic. But for me, I'm basically a team of two, myself and my spouse. That's my whole team right now. I will hire editors, proofreaders. I'll hire cover designers. But in the end, the final decisions on all those things come to me. And then I start trying to learn things. I think for my next set of books, I'll do my own covers.
Oh,
because
wow.
I saw what they did. You know that. You see what they did. Well, could do that. Why am I paying you $120?
Right.
I think I can figure out how to do this and go find some programs and do it myself.
Yeah. And you don't even have to really pay much anymore. You don't need Photoshop anymore. Nope. I pay $5 a month to something called PicMonkey. It does everything I need to do.
That's right.
So
I'm so what we do.
I was a public school teacher for 15 years, and of course we never have any money. So I have learned how to do everything cheap or free that you can do.
As a retired person, when I started out on a fixed income, you do not have money to go in. I cannot make it rain. There is no raining around my books. That is not happening. What's happening is I'm going to go and see what, if I can do it myself,
exactly.
The way to think about it, I simply will. It'll take me longer, but it will cost me almost nothing. You know, it costs me the time and effort it takes me to learn how to do it and get a little bit better at it.
Yep, that's very true.
Yes.
Very true. Well, I am so glad. I'm so thrilled that I was able to talk to you today. Not only are you a very motivating and inspiring author, you're just a really good person to talk to. I feel energized to go do things now, just having our conversation.
Oh, you yourself are a published author and have done well. So that's kind of cool too. You're nice to talk to. Yes, nice to talk to someone else.
And it's so interesting, the connections that you build with the people that you're talking to. I've noticed that there were just some things that I had in common with the previous author. And as you're talking about your family and your husband, I'm a musician also, and my husband, I call him my manager because he's the roadie and he's the one, he'll go eat somewhere while I'm singing, and next thing I know, he's got me a gig at that restaurant, you know. So it's nice.
And that's what they do. That's what makes it way, good. I talk to women sometimes about the fact that you have to give and get. I like to believe that when he's doing the things he likes to do 3D editing, that we switch roles and I turn into staff and he turns into the creative mind doing it. And it makes it so that you can lean on somebody and they know they can lean back on you. It
exactly.
makes a big difference in your ability to be successful.
Definitely.
Yes.
Well, I hope that the rest of your day is wonderful and relaxing, and that
It's really neat that you have this podcast.
well, I have wanted to do it for a long time, and I just think writers need a voice. And writers have a voice in the written word, but I think writers need more of a voice in the spoken, auditory, visual, all those other avenues, because there are so many good writers out there that aren't going to do a television commercial, or that aren't going to necessarily have Steven Spielberg make it into a movie, but they need to be read. I mean, your books need to be read. So this is my little way of trying to connect authors with listeners, and hopefully something really good comes out of it.
Well, thank you very much. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Words from the River. Be sure and tune in next week when we will be interviewing the author Julia K. Young. In addition, be sure to visit our website, www.wordsfromtheriver.com, and when you scroll to the bottom, subscribe to sign up for the newsletter that has lots of tips on writing, as well as other articles and writing excerpts from other authors. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week.